We're gonna try to answer the question today. How many 3DSs are enough? Okay everybody, so I got here my good buddy Victor. He's a friend of mine from back in Brazil. He's been following my work for the longest time.
Yeah.
From back in when I was active on my blog.
Yes.
And then we became friends, and we have this shared interest in Nintendo portables, right? Like, I mean, you are more so a Nintendo portable addict.
Well, we can say that, but I don't think it's addiction. I can stop at any time, man.
You're completely under control.
Yeah, it's all under control.
And I say this because I like portables in general, right? Like, so I have here my GPD-XD, which you also have,
I do,
right?
yes.
Like, you guys are very familiar with this. I put out a video about the GPD-XD a while back, and I still get a lot of hits and questions about the GPD-XD. For those who don't know, this is an Android tablet shaped like a Nintendo 3DS XL that runs, like I said, Android, so you can emulate all sorts of things. It's a really decent gadget, right? Like, this has been for a long time my favorite portable emulation machine ever, until I got into, like, because these are an emulation, but you know what I mean. Like, these are now, we're gonna talk about this, but the 3DS right now is my favorite portable console, is what I mean to say. So Victor brought some of his 3DSs here. He has, how many do you have altogether?
I have 9 systems from the 3DS family.
Do you know, like, which ones do you have, like, off the top of your head? Because 9, I would have lost track of which ones I already have.
Yes, I have one of the smaller one, that is this one here, the original one.
Right.
I have 2 of the 3DS XLs, this one and
this is the Pikachu model he's pointing at right here. Which one do you have?
I also have the Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds edition.
Nice. You know the one I like that you surprisingly you don't have? I don't think it's the Yoshi one.
No, I don't have the Yoshi.
Because it's like, it's really nice. It's like, you know, it's green with Yoshi here. It is on the screen. I'm gonna put it up there. Fivio, a buddy of ours, when he was visiting Canada, he bought that. I took him to EB Games and he bought that one. He ended up selling it because he realized.
I actually remember that, and I know the person who he sold it to.
Oh really?
Yes.
Oh, right on. So we have what else? So what else do you have? You got the 2 3DS XLs.
Two of these. I have the Nintendo 2DS, the original one.
Yeah, so he has the 2DS, the cake slice or cheese slice. Shout out to Ray Strasdas. He's a buddy of mine here on YouTube, who is a big supporter of this model of the 3DS. We're gonna talk about a little bit about this one too.
I have 2 of the Nintendo 3DS,
Yes.
the smaller one.
This one he's referring to. This is the new 3DS, so not the new 3DS XL. This is the new 3DS, which I believe it's been discontinued in North America. Am I correct?
They only released it in special bundles, so yeah, you can't find it new anymore. It's
you can't find it anymore. Like, you can still buy 3DS systems. Well, new 3DSs, right? Like, the original 3DS has been discontinued at this point, I think.
Yes.
But this one, the new 3DS, and I have the one, I'm going to show you again, I have the one with the face plates. I mean, they all have this one, all of them have face plates. This one is the, what do you call this one? I don't know. It's like a bunch of Nintendo icons. I love it. And then you have a new 3DS
Yeah,
XL.
I also have 2 of these. This is the Majora's Mask edition. It was very, very hard to get back then. And I also get the Hyrule Warriors edition with the Triforce. That's my main system.
Is that the one in the corner? It's like, because I've seen the one in the corner, but that's, I think that's a DSi maybe?
No, that was original 3DS Black with the. Oh no, actually that's a DS Lite. It's golden with the tiny Triforce.
Okay, I saw that at the game store. We went to a game store here in Calgary yesterday. Victor lives in Vancouver. He was visiting. I had to take him to a retro style game shop, so we were seeing a bunch of different DSs. And I'm like, do you have this one? Do you have this one? So you have 2 of the new 3DS XLs.
Yes, and
right?
Yeah, and I also have one of the new 2DS.
The new 2DS. I like this guy quite a bit. I remember when Nintendo. This is the new 2DS XL. I actually recommend this one to people who want to jump into the library, the 3DS library, because it runs everything a 3DS will run, except it doesn't have the 3D effect, which most people play with it off. Do you leave it like to play?
Always on.
Always on.
Always on.
Really, you are weird.
Except on New Super Mario Brothers 2.
Okay.
Because in that game it just blurs the scenario, and I really like it.
This is something interesting to get into as well, right? So the 3DS, the main selling point of the 3DS was the 3D effects, like glassless 3D effect. And with the original 3DS, which he has a really nice red and black, as I was telling you before we started shooting, I really like the black and red combo. I saw a guy on Facebook Marketplace, which he was selling this exact same one, and the only reason I didn't buy it is because I already have 2 3DSs, right? So I'm like, I'm gonna have to pass up on this one. I've owned a good 5 or 6 altogether, right? Because one I gave to my girlfriend, 2 I sold, and then I bought 2 more, so 5. I've had 5 altogether. Not a bad number. But this I like it quite a bit. But when the original 3DS came out, right? I'm gonna show it to you again. It was really interesting the way it did 3D without glasses, but the problem was it wasn't perfect.
No, it wasn't.
So the 3D effect, you have to have the 3DS at a specific angle, like just the right way to hold
like
it.
a sweet spot, you know?
Yeah, you needed to be holding it at a sweet spot. So if you're moving it around too much, you'd lose that effect. So perhaps that's one of the reasons why so many people got used to playing it with the 3D effect off. Right? So around the time when the new 3DS came out, so both of these systems right here, this guy right here and this guy right, oh no, this is the 3DS XL. The new 3DS XL, these guys right here, they have an enhanced 3D mode, right? So they have a little IR camera or whatever here, right? Which reads your face, and it can tell where your eyes are. So as you tilt the device, it compensates, so the image kind of like catches up with your eyes, and it projects it at the right angle so that the effect isn't lost. So I play with 3D with the 3D effect turned on this system way more than I did before, but it's not something that I prefer. Why do you always keep it on anyway?
I like the effect. I think it's very interesting. I think it was a very nice way of selling a new system back in 2011 when this little guy was first released, and I just enjoy it. The very first game that I played on the 3DS was The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, which is my favorite game of all time. Yeah. So playing that game with new 3D graphics and 3D was mind-blowing. And they fixed the texture so it looks way better than it did on the N64 and 3D. And I guess, especially considering how small the screen is, that looked even sharper than you remember probably, right? So there's that. Like I want to hear from you guys in the comments. Like, do you play with 3D on or off? As you can tell, like we're obviously we're big supporters. You see, the funny thing is, when I went to see you a few months ago, he showed me his 3DS collection, which I knew he had, but I never saw that many 3DSs in one place that belonged to one person. And I told them that I'm like, you know, 3DS, man, whatever. Like Nintendo, I think the Switch was already out at that point, right? It was, yeah.
And I didn't have one yet. And I told him, like, dude, the Switch is the new thing now. 3DS, who cares? And he's like, no, man, like, there's still so many games in this library. There's so many different models that you can choose from that cater to so many different tastes. We're going to talk about the 3DS a little bit more. And then I ended up becoming convinced by that, went out, bought a new 2DS XL, and then I loved the look. Because the thing with the new 2DS, the original new 2DS, it's a confusing naming scheme, because I have to say the original new 3DS.
Well, actually they were released at the same time in Japan. This one was released a few months after this one in North America. So technically the original new, it's this one for North America.
The XL, really?
Yes.
Okay, well, so I'm gonna call it the exact name so it's not confusing, right? So the new 3DS, this model you see right here, the reason I love this guy is because it has Super Famicom style buttons here, the face buttons, right? So I always love that color scheme.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And the problem with the new 3DS XL is that while it does have that scheme, it's more muted, because the buttons are kind of like this dark gray, like almost black, and then you see the colors on the letters there, but it doesn't jump out as much as it does on the new 3DS. Right, like I love that. So the 2DS, it was released in October 2013.
Yes.
Right? And I remember, you might remember this as well, when I did a video about it, not knowing what to make of it. A lot of people were confused, right? Because it's taking away the main selling point of the system. It's right in there in the name, 3DS. What did you think when they announced this guy?
I thought it was an interesting move, because I had lots of friends that don't like the 3D effect that much, and this is also a great entry point to the family. It's still being sold today. It's like the cheaper 3DS you can buy.
I'm actually impressed it's still sold today.
Yes, it's surprisingly comfortable despite the weird form factor. It's pretty sturdy, so I think it's harder solid actually for kids to break it. Like clamshell design is easily breakable, especially for kids.
Like the kid will like overextend or drop it. There's moving parts on this thing.
This here, it might be easier to scratch the screens or something like that, but it's harder to break.
They're plastic, right? So that's the problem with plastic screens.
Exactly.
One interesting thing, and I'm sure you know this, is that with the 2DS, it doesn't actually have two screens. It's one screen, and it's just like covered by plastic. There's this division here in the middle, but it's actually, this thing only has one screen. I think by now everybody knows this. This is like, if you're interested in the 3DS line, and technically these are all 3DSs, right? Like despite the name, this is essentially a 3DS.
This thing right here still has 2 cameras, so despite not being able to see in 3D, it still can take 3D pictures.
And share them with friends that have 3DS.
Exactly.
I always thought, did you ever take 3D pictures on your 3DS?
I used to back when this was brand new, just to see how it is, but the camera quality is not
really
great,
bad.
yeah.
It's like sub VGA camera.
It's horrible.
It's really bad. I took a few, same as you. Like I got the 3DS and I'm like, oh, this takes 3D pictures, and I took like 2 or 3, and I'm like, okay, I'm over it. I get it. I get it, right? One thing interesting about the new 2DS XL, which, like I said before, this is the system that I now recommend people get if they're interested in the 3DS library. And it's a massive, massive library with things like you have titles, like every genre is well represented on 3DS, and you have access to the DS library, which is like some 2,000 games, right?
Yeah, and some of them are fantastic jams, and some of them are not well known, so there's still lots of stuff out there for you to find out.
That's a good segue. What would you say is like a good hidden gem for both? Because here's the thing too, right? When we're talking about the 3DS, in a way, you're talking about the DS.
Oh yeah,
because they're effectively the same system. You play the same games if you want to, right? So what would you say is the hidden gem in both the DS and the 3DS? On
the DS, I think that The World Ends With You.
I never played that. Can you believe that?
It's pretty amazing. There's a port on the iOS. I don't know if it's as good as the original game, but it's a fantastic game. Not many people that I know played it, but the ones that did, they all think it's an amazing game, and I think so too.
I never heard a bad thing about the game. Everybody that mentions the game says like, oh, it's a fantastic game. It's an RPG, right? It has like some rhythm game segments or whatever. Yeah. It's like a weird kind of game. I haven't tried it yet, but I will get to it eventually. It's in my back catalog. So what about the 3DS? What would you say is a good hidden gem on the 3DS?
For the 3DS, a fantastic. Actually, it's something that it may sound weird. It was released recently, but it's Detective Pikachu.
Really?
It's surprisingly fun, surprisingly interesting, very well written. The humor is great, and I wasn't actually interested in buying it.
I'm surprised. You have a Pikachu 3DS. You weren't gonna pick it up?
I got the amiibo, but I wasn't interested in buying the game.
Is it huge?
Yeah, it's like this tall.
Okay.
But then the game came out. I start reading the reviews and stuff like that. I was like, oh, I need to find it. And it was actually hard for me to find it on the stores, because on the first weekend I just couldn't find it in Vancouver.
Really?
Yeah.
I get the feeling that Vancouver is kind of a hard place to like be a collector. Like you guys don't have as many like gaming stores from what you tell me.
At least that I know.
At least that you know, right? Like you guys don't have something like the Calgary Expo where you can like pick up a bunch of these things.
Well, we have some geek events as well, but it's not as big as the Calgary Expo.
Oh, I see. Okay, so you had a hard time finding Detective Pikachu. Now, for me, this is not so much of a hidden gem. To me, I guess it was because it flew completely under my radar. Bomberman DS.
It's pretty good.
It's very, very good. I'm a huge Bomberman fan. What's not to love, right? Like, it's a great series. And I skipped, like, I've had a DS since it came out. And Bomberman DS came out in 2005. It was like almost a launch title pretty much. And I skipped it entirely, right? And I was playing it. The one thing I don't like is that there's not a lot of level variety. Like in Super Bomberman 3 and 4, the levels vary a lot. It's like very like lush and like imaginative. Whereas in Bomberman DS, they're kind of like flat and boring a bit, but the gameplay is still fun.
Oh, it's fun.
The music I hate in Bomberman DS. They don't use any of like the classic tunes.
Yeah,
from
to
the
be honest,
series.
I don't remember the soundtrack very much.
It's horrible. I play a lot of it on mute. Like if I'm lying in bed and like Natalia is with me, I play it in mute. So it makes almost no difference because the music is really forgettable and it's annoying in fact. But the game is so much fun. It's one of those addictive games that you just want to keep playing and playing. And when you lose, you're like, oh, like I'll try one more time, right? So that's it. This is the 3DS line. This is Victor's part of Victor's huge 3DS collection. Thank you for coming on and bringing your showing off your systems here. And that'll be it. If you guys enjoyed this content, make sure to hit the like button. Leave comments down below if you have a 3DS. Are you gonna buy one? Do you hate it like AJ and Bob? Let me know. I always want to know. Hit the notification bell because YouTube sucks at letting you know I put new content out. And that's all the time I have for today. I'm Izzy and I'm done.